Hi, freshmen. So today we're going to look at Act 1, Scene 4 of Romeo and Juliet. Um, so just like always, we're going to make our annotations. Most famous lines, beautiful lines in light blue, important plot lines in orange, underline words in blue, and then notes in the margins. And Act 4, or Scene 4, Act 1, Scene 4, is a little while later, right? This is right before the party. And the boys are together, getting ready to go to the party and have a good time and drink. So Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio, and then some other people are with them from the Montague house. They're all dressed up because this is a masked party or a masquerade. And so they have masks, they have costumes, going to a costume party at the Capulet Mansion. And we have some inklings that maybe they've been imbibing a little bit, maybe some alcohol, maybe some other drugs or something like that. They might not 100% be feeling themselves. I have seen that interpreted that way in several versions of this play, notably the Leonardo DiCaprio version. So let's just get right into it, right? So, Romeo, what? Shall this speech be spoke for our excuse, or shall we on without an apology? The date, Benvolio, the date is out of such prolixity. We have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf bearing a Tartar's painted bow of lath, scaring the ladies like a crow keeper, nor no without book prologue faintly spoke after the prompter for our entrance, but let them measure us by what they will. We'll measure them a measure and be gone. Give me a torch, for I am not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I will bear the light. Now, when he says being but heavy, he means like his soul is weighed down. He feels bad. He feels depressed, mainly because of the Rosaline situation, right? Then Mercutio. Mercutio comes in. He steals the scene. Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance. Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead, so stakes me to the ground I cannot move. Once again, he says, I feel like I'm just bound to this earth. I feel like everything's awful. And Mercutio says, you are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings and soar with them beyond a common bound. I am too sore and pierced with his shaft to soar with his light feathers, and so bound I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink. And to sink in it, should you burden love, too great opposition for a tender thing. And Romeo says, is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like thorn. That is one of those famous lines. So we're going to highlight that in blue, right? And what he says is kind of true, but we have to remember that the reason that love isn't working out for Romeo is because he's going about it the wrong way. We can't give Romeo too much credit here and say, oh, poor Romeo, the girls are just so mean to you. He is not approaching girls the right way, right? When you go up and ask them to sleep with you as your opening line, that's not a good idea. But I mean, sometimes love is, right? Sometimes love is rude. Sometimes it's rough. Times it's boisterous. It hurts, right? Mercutio says, if love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking and you beat love down, which I love. That's another one of those famous lines. So we're going to highlight both of these in blue. Give me a case to put my visage in, a visor for a visor, right? He's saying, I have my mask. I'm going to take my mask off. What care I, what curious eye doth quote deformities? Here are the beetle brows shall bust for me. So we are going to stop for just a second. We're going to write down some things about these masks, right? So we're going to say Mercutio and the boys all put on masks, literally, right? They literally are wearing masks. But there is also the suggestion that Mercutio figuratively wears a mask, right? So he's both literally wearing a mask, but he also is kind of suggesting that he's figuratively wearing a mask, like sometimes we all do, right? He is different than the rest of his friends, a pagan among Christians. He also hides behind humor and wit. He does not show his feelings easily, which is maybe why he's having such a hard time with Romeo right now, right? Romeo is so depressed because of this love thing with Rosalind. And he's just like, come on, Romeo. Like, you've been acting this way for like weeks. Just get over her, right? Benvolio says, come, knock and enter, and no sooner in, but every man betake him to his legs. A torch for me, let wantons light of heart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels, for I am proverbed with the grandsire phrase, I'll be a candle holder and look on. The game was ne'er so fair, and I am done. Once again, he's like, I don't want to partake in these festivities. I just want to go and see Rosaline. I'm depressed. Just leave me alone. Tut, duns the mouse, the constable's word own. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire. Of this, sir, reverence love, wherein thou stickest up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight, ho! Nay, that's not so. I mean, sir, in delay, we waste our lights in vain, like lamps by day, take our good meaning, for our judgment sits 5 times in that air once in our 5 wits. And we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis no wit to go. Right? He says, why are we doing this? I just want to be left alone and I want to think about Rosaline. Just let me go to the party and go see her. Right? Why, may one ask? I dreamt a dream tonight, and so did I. Well, what was yours? That dreamers often lie. In bed asleep while they do dream things true. Oh, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. All right, so we got to highlight some stuff. We're going to do them in orange. So I dreamt a dream tonight. And so did I. Oh, no, markup. We want this. All right, here we go. This is better. I dreamt a dream tonight. And so did I. Well, what was yours? That dreamers often lie. In bed asleep while they do dream things true. And then we're going to be careful because we're going to underline Queen Mab because we need to talk about Queen Mab. So we're going to highlight that. And then we're going to go to underline. And we're going to do Queen Mab because we do need to talk about Queen Mab. All right, so a couple things we need to talk about. So comment that dreamers often lie. We're going to put a comment bubble right next to that. And we're going to say this is a pun, right? Playing on the fact that lie could mean to lie down, which is true, right? Dreamers, when you sleep, you lie down, right? Or it could mean that dreamers often do not tell the truth. Both of these work, right? So in the line, it could be dreamers often lie, they lie down, they go to sleep. Or it could also mean that dreamers don't tell the truth. We lie about what we dream about. Then we need to talk about Queen Mab. So we're going to make a comment box off of Queen Mab. And Queen Mab is a fairy creature. She is queen of fairies and a symbol of old pagan ways. Okay, so now he's going to start talking. This is a really long speech, right? And Mercutio's going to start talking about Queen Mab. And he's going to start getting more intense and more intense, right? Well, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife and comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone, on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies, athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spoke made of long spider's legs and covers the cover of wings of grasshoppers, the traces of the smallest spider web, the collars of moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner, a small great-coated gnat, not so big as a round little worm, pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or old grub, time out of mind, the fairy's coachmakers. So he's talking about Queen Mab, right? And he's setting up, she has this coach, right? And she like gallops through men's dreams, right? That's what she does. And in this state, she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. over courtiers' knees that dream on curtsies straight, over lawyers' fingers who straight dream on fees, over ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream, and oft the angry mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops over a courtier's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out a suit. And sometimes comes she with a tithe pig's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then dreams he of another benefice. Sometimes she driveth over a soldier's neck, then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, ambuscados, Spanish blades, of healths 5 fathoms deep, and then anon drums in his ear, at which he starts and wake, and being thus frighted, swears a prayer or two and sleeps again. This is that very mab that plates the manes of horses in the night and bakes the elf locks in foul sluttish hairs, when once untangled, in which much in fortune bodes. This is the hag when maids lie on their backs, that press them and leans them to bear to first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she. So he's getting more intense, right? He starts screaming about Queen Mab. Romeo says, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talkest of nothing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make a comment right here. And we're going to say, Mercutio starts screaming, right? Here. This is the first time he is showing real emotion. And he starts freaking everybody out. He's screaming about Queen Mab. Romeo says, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talkst of nothing. Mercutio, true. I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind who woos. Even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered, puffed away from thence, turning his face to the dew-dropping south. Benvolio is freaked out by all this, right? This wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done, and we shall come too late. So he says, we have to go to the party. Romeo, these are really important lines. I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars shall bitterly begin his fearful date. With this night's revels and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death. But he that hath the steerage of my course direct my sail. On, lusty gentlemen. And Benvolio says, strike drum. So we need to do a couple things here. We need to mark some stuff up. So we need to highlight in orange, right? So we're going to highlight, I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence. Oh, man. All right, undo that. We're going to do this. All right, haha, we fixed it. All right, I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequences hanging in the stars. And then we're also going to highlight, but he that hath the steerage of my course sail on. Direct my sail on, lusty gentlemen. And we are going to then do a text box. This is super important. So we're going to make it big. So we're going to make it like 24 point. And we're going to go fate. And maybe we'll even bold it, right? So we'll highlight this and we'll go fate, right? So Romeo here is talking about fate. And fate is so important in Romeo and Juliet. So we are also going to make a comment box. And we're going to say Romeo is feeling fate pulling him towards this party. He compares himself to a ship that is being steered by someone else. All right, so let's go back and let's talk about these, right? He says, I fear too early. So this whole thing with, the drugs potentially and, Mercutio freaking out about Queen Mab has made him feel something, right? And he says, I fear too early. He fears. My mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars. So he talks about, I feel like something's happening up in the heavens that's making me do something, right? I'm a puppet on strings and I'm being pulled, right? And then that last line is important, but he that hath the steerage of my course direct my sail. So he says, I feel pulled to this party, but I'm going to accept it. I'm going to allow it to happen. And I want whoever's controlling me to take me to the party. And I think it's really important to understand that the characters in Romeo and Juliet don't actually make choices. They are being pulled by fate. So Romeo doesn't actually choose to go to the party. He is directed to go to the party. He has to. He has no choice. All right. So that is Act 1, Scene, what did we do? Scene 4. Act 1, Scene 4. Whole thing done. So you need to do your after reading. And there is going to be a lot of futility of fighting fate, right? We just read some of that. And there's some light and dark, not a whole lot of past against the future. So you find those and mark your motifs. And we'll see you for the next scene. Bye.